Hey guys, welcome back to I Bet You Think This Podcast is About You, and you are about to hear the second version B, or second half of Part 2. Thank you, Linda. That's Linda. So you get to hear Linda talk about her story here on Part 2 of episode 11, The Confessional.
This is my debut on the podcast.
It is your debut.
As a guest. Yeah.
Yeah. Yours and Deep Throats.
Mm-hmm. I'm excited to hear this.
I am too. So enjoy.
That was amazing.
Are we going to get a thumbs up from...
Okay.
Yay. Mm-hmm. All right. So now we have more people here to share their little anecdotes and their life stories about toxic people in their lives. So I think, well, you're going to be able to tell because we're mixing a voice here. So we have Deep Throat. Or Jesus, or whatever you want to call him.
Good evening. I just want to say that I'm pretty sure this podcast is about me. That's been quite evident. I want to thank you for it. I appreciate it. So thank you.
Thank you, God.
Oh, no, it's my pleasure.
Amen.
Yeah, and I think we've named the other person on here, Linda.
Linda.
Hi, Linda.
I'll go by Linda.
All right, so...
You look good.
Oh, look.
I just know how that's going to sound. You look good. You know what I'm saying?
I appreciate that. Thank you.
I'm here to help.
This is Linda from Bob's.
Things are happening. What?
I hope this is Linda from Bob's Burgers.
Okay, so we have Tina here for
This is my favorite. Do you watch Bob's?
Okay, I haven't,
back.
but
Oh, goodness.
Hey.
I should be proud of that. I'll be that person.
Well, whose story should we start with? How about you, Linda, since you're making eye contact with me right now?
Sure.
So tell me about your toxic individual.
Okay, well, my toxic individual is my ex-husband, yet I am unsure whether he can be labeled a narcissist. I need some advice. I need to know.
Okay, so I think we had a little talk in the green room. We don't really have a green room, but if we did, that was
was
really
green, though.
It was.
Yeah.
That's where you keep the pizza and the wine, right?
It's true.
Okay.
It's
Okay.
green.
So in the green room, we had a little discussion. Why do you think that he? Well, I guess what are his identifying characteristics?
Well, in the 15 years that we spent together, I can tell you he has he's never shown emotion.
Like zero.
I can say never because that's true. He is the most even-keeled individual I have ever met. He lives his life in black and white by spreadsheets. He makes the plan. He makes the rules. He sticks by them. That's how things go. There's really no room for discussion, no room for emotion. Crying is the silliest thing in the world.
Really?
How's the sex?
Well, just as you would imagine.
That's what I'm wondering.
Essentially
Is
for
that
procreation, very missionary. I can tell you this. Okay. It wasn't
I feel like
great.
this is going to be good.
Again,
we
15 years together.
We talked about
Scheduled,
sex and
I was like, I have
tacos
to
in another
know,
episode,
like-
so just say whatever you want to say.
Okay.
Yeah.
When we first got together, it was fine. I had no experience. I had nothing to go off of.
He got you young.
Yeah.
Ew.
Yeah.
Okay.
And being a self-conscious
That's what you want 'em.
individual,
Thanks, God.
Sorry.
I was never one to just rip all my clothes off and have some passionate lovemaking session at
try it.
how
You gotta
young
try
I
it.
was. Not at that point, I hadn't. So let's just say 15 years went by and he had never seen me with my shirt off one time.
What?
What?
One time.
He's missing out.
I'm leaving right now.
I know.
Yeah. And then when we had sex, it was always missionary, and we would put a towel down underneath for cleanliness.
What?
And unless we were trying to conceive, he would pull out, regardless of any kind of birth control, because you just have to be sure, right?
Are you kidding me right now?
I'm not kidding.
This is
Even though you were on birth control?
Right. Also,
Wait a minute.
he never once asked for a blowjob, so I never once gave him a blowjob.
what?
If you're not going to ask for it, then I'm not giving one.
Right?
So just a tip. You got to
Don't
ask.
offer that.
That's actually a blessing in disguise, girlfriend.
What?
So boring sex aside,
So just to be clear, I'm sorry. You do have to ask for a blowjob. That's how I should be playing
it
this.
seems evident,
Okay.
right?
No.
You know this by
you
now.
don't have
No,
to
you
ask.
don't. You
So
don't.
many
Oh.
questions.
It's mostly part of the standard repertoire, I would
Well, so
assume.
not to get too into it, but did he ever go down on you?
I think maybe once when we were first dating, but it was awkward and weird, and he wasn't doing it right, and we just kind of stopped, and we never initiated sex with one another. It was sort of on a schedule. Like, yeah, it's been 4 to 6 weeks. We should probably get that job done. Okay.
Wow. I'm so glad that you introduced him as your ex-husband.
Yeah.
What? Wow. That's
So
awful.
being in a relationship
Wait a minute.
long,
I got to go back to the schedule. Hold on. Right? So it was just like, we haven't done it, honey, in a month and a half. So let's get on it.
Sure.
Because it's Tuesday.
It couldn't be when I was
and I
having
have
my
a
period.
fresh, clean towel.
Yeah.
Was it ever your idea?
Oh, rarely.
Well, then maybe it was both of you, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah. But there's something to be said in the relationship in that way. Like, I didn't feel that type of connection with him. But I was so young. We were together for so long. I guess I didn't realize what an actual marriage relationship should be like. I just went with it.
Relationship.
Yeah.
What did you like about him?
Well, I had a relationship prior that was very
Tell me it was wild.
messy. Yeah, it was a lot more wild, but he was a man-child who just didn't grow up. And so by the time I was 19, 20 years old, I was sick of not having bills paid and all the money being spent on silly things. And when I broke up with that individual...
Okay, what's the dumbest thing he bought?
Oh my gosh. He had a room where there were 4 computers, the screen set up, so we can play video games on all 4 screens at the same time. But he's one person. Yeah. And he would play that until 4 a.m. and then not make it to work at 7 a.m. because
oh my gosh.
He never grew up.
So we knew how to party.
I would have burned that house down. I agree with you. I would have burned that house down now.
So I left, and then
Let
I
her
was
finish.
like, my next person's going to be this responsible person, responsible with money. He's going to make a lot of money. In fact, he's going to take care of me. I'll be the housewife. I'll just have the kids. I just want to know that I'm taken care of by this very responsible person.
But who has the sex drive of a grandmother?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
And it was okay for a while, I guess. Was it? I didn't know.
I think it was. I really agree with her.
Okay.
No.
You're coming off from what you were
man-child.
with before.
Right.
You're like, you just like run to like something,
The opposite.
something that's safe. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I did. And then, but here's the bad part is by the time I was entering into my 30s, had been in this marriage for a long time, I had evolved and grown and changed and become a lot more confident. I lost my shit. I mean, as soon as we separated, I pretty much went crazy. I lived my teenage years, my college years within a span of 18 months.
Well,
You lived your best life. I would
Yeah.
like to call it.
Yeah.
I wouldn't call it crazy. I wouldn't call it anything like negative. I would say you lived your best life.
Yeah.
So how did he take that?
When we sat down, I was very brave to responsibly, calmly explain to him that I no longer want to be in this marriage relationship with him. And he was silent. And he looked down and he said, "Are you sure?" And I said, "Yes, we've been growing apart for a long time. I don't feel like I can communicate with you. The many times I've tried, you shut it down. I've started crying. You started laughing because I was crying.
Wow.
So this is how I'm telling you now." And he just said, "Okay." He nodded his head and said, "Okay, we will proceed with the separation and the divorce," and then very clearly defined how we were going to do that.
Are you sure you weren't married to a robot?
It feels like it.
Good question.
Normally when
Right?
you say that to somebody, don't they say, "No, please, let me just try to make it work"? Like nothing?
Yeah, we went to
Usually-
counseling.
What?
We did, because that's what you're supposed to do. That's the next step. You do these things. Went to counseling, and we very clearly explained our sides of the story to the therapist. And she turned to my ex and said, "You're going to have to make some changes in order for her to be happy, in order for you guys to communicate more clearly." And he said, "I can't do that. I don't feel like anything I'm doing or saying is wrong. And I don't want to change because I don't think there's anything wrong with the way that I live my life and how I act."
Wow.
So that was just the nail in the coffin right there.
So where is he now? Is he having some wonderful relationship now?
I don't know if it's wonderful.
He's been doing a lot of blow, partying hard, a lot of video games I hear.
Well,
too.
you would know because you're God and you see all.
Indeed, yes.
What he did is waited until the divorce was final.
He's probably not even having caffeinated soda.
No, exactly. He's having sugar-free.
Only on the
everything.
weekends.
Like-
He waited until the divorce was final, and then the appropriate amount of time passed, and then he signed up for Match.com.
Oh boy.
so he could find his mate.
How do you know? Did you
Anybody
see
in the
him
room
on
see
there?
him on
He
Match?
told me.
Anyone?
Yeah,
Anyone?
he told me.
No. Too bad.
So the second girl he started dating was the one, and they are together now.
The second girl on Match?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm just going to say, I've been on Match, and there was like 7,000 people that were just garbage.
Permission. You've been on Match with
They were like,
permission.
hey.
So that's not how you want to start a conversation with a woman.
I mean, you can.
When their voice sounds like yours, you do what you want.
You found the one. Good for him. Good for him.
All right.
So what does this mean?
I mean, we're not here to give answers. I don't know. I mean, it sounds like he was not your dude.
No.
Sounds like he wasn't your guy.
Yeah.
And he wasn't for you. And you're better off without him, right?
Yeah.
Are you happier?
Absolutely.
Well, there you go. I mean, that's the thing. Sometimes it doesn't have to be somebody who is, you know, a sociopath or out to kill you to be just not be the one for you. He's not your guy.
Or just toxic.
And you're just,
I mean,
or
he
you're
just
toxic
was
together.
right. Yeah.
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 I mean, I guess you could have lived the rest of your life having sex through a hole in a sheet in the missionary position. But is that your best life? Is it?
no.
I mean, it sounds like his.
Maybe just during the week.
Only Tuesdays.
No, but I did say that. I said that too. I said when I jumped on, I said, I don't know if who I dated was a narcissist or not. I don't know.
Yeah.
But all I know is how he made me feel, and I know that wasn't who I was. Like how he made me feel different than who I am now and who I've always been.
Well,
And-
that's a good point. Do you feel more like yourself now?
Absolutely. And I can see now that for 15 years, I wasn't myself. I was a very toned down, subdued version of myself because of how he expected me to be. Just sort of the rules that he would have put in place.
Mm-hmm.
He sounded like he loves.
Were you ever walking? You have felt you were walking on eggshells.
Absolutely. All the time. All the time. Yeah. You
just
pee
didn't
with the door
wanna-
closed. You change in the bathroom. Everything was just so structured and
You forget
Not
who
fun.
you are. Yeah,
You peed with
forget
the
who
door
you
closed.
Yeah.
are.
Yeah. All right. So on to Deep Throat or God. Whoever
This is
you
good.
are.
Either is fine.
Okay. I feel like I have to ask for forgiveness right now.
It wouldn't hurt.
So tell us about your toxic relationship.
So it's a good one in the booth there. For a second, my effect was in my cans, and it's very distracting to say the least. I can give you a few different, like I can drag this out if you want to know a lot about
I
this
kind of
relationship.
do. I kind of do.
All right.
Because you're about to start a new religion, and I think I'm going to be your first your first devotee.
Bless you, my child.
Thank you.
Well, okay, so I was seeing this person. It was sort of on again, off again, and when we were happy, we were really, really happy, and then ups and downs. But there was this level of happiness that we had that, like, to that point, I hadn't had yet. And then
nice save.
what's that?
Nice save.
Yeah. Sorry, Linda. It is Linda.
That's it.
Okay. So anyway, there was a lot of like makeup, breakup stuff, and like she would like sabotage the relationship, and I can only seem like she was maybe scared or something like that, and then she'd make sure the
That's the
relationship would end.
excuse we make for all of those toxic people. They're just scared to love
bitches.
us. I know.
I joke.
It's a
I joke.
lie.
Anyway, I was just assuming, but anyways, since one of those times, like something definitely changed with us, and like how I looked at her changed, and but I always thought that I could get back to that like really intense, happy part of our relationship.
Oh boy.
Yeah, turns out that doesn't always work.
Or ever. But okay.
Probably, but fast forward, we get back together. There's promises made that there's changes, and there's one other factor in this equation. She had a condition that anytime she felt vaginal pressure, her brain would turn that into like horrible excruciating pain. And the condition is called vaginismus and it has a 99.9% cure rate. You just got to, I mean, it takes some doing. There's a little bit of physical therapy, and you can do it all yourself. And I was promised that this would take place, because up to this point, I'm a year into this, and we'd never had like intercourse, like real sex. So, she asked me to marry her.
She asked you to marry her.
She did.
Nice.
Yeah, it was always a fun story to tell.
Okay, well, no, but that's,
Yeah, I mean, no, it was nice.
progressive.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and then that was also something that led me to believe that things had changed, and that the promise to, work through this condition, was legit, and I believed that would happen. And so I was supportive, and I'd like try to go real gentle with it, like, maybe we can kind of work on this tonight. And it got, more times than not, it just got put off or swept under the rug. But if I pressed even a little bit, it was always met with like a ton of resistance, and like it would end in a fight. And this went on for a long time. Years.
Seriously.
Yes. So after a certain point, the fight was just kind of knocked out of me. Like, you can only take that kind of rejection so long before you're like, well, I'm going to stop trying now.
Yeah.
So long story short, I went 6 years without having sex. I never.
Sounds like my life.
Okay. But that's because you're picky.
That's true.
Yeah, this wasn't my choice.
That's true.
So yeah, 6 years, I never strayed, not once.
That's amazing.
Get back
That's
get
really
back over here.
amazing.
Oh yeah. Somebody's giving me the jerk off motion. Yeah, like I beat that thing like it owed me money. Made it my business.
Do you know how many questions are going in through my mind right now? But I feel like I have to give deference to God and this guy who hasn't had sex in 6 years. Wow.
Yeah, God just admitted masturbating. Cool podcast, bro.
Well, hey, I mean, okay, does everybody want to admit to masturbating here just to make God feel more comfortable?
Oh yes, all the time.
Yeah.
Twice on Sundays.
You may not know us, but God encourages that.
Thank you. Oh,
The
good.
show is great.
Oh, God, he won't strike me dead. Thank God. Thank God, God.
Yeah, you got it.
So 6 years into this whole sexless fiasco.
Yeah, there was therapy. Like, there was all the usual stops. I've been in relationships before where I didn't feel like I really tried enough, and I've always kind of like been like,
Wait.
you should try.
Can I ask you, so you said yes to marrying her?
I did.
So you got married?
Yes.
Oh my God, there was a gasp in the audience.
Oh, I didn't make that clear?
Okay, I wasn't 100%. I know she asked you to marry her. So you married this human being.
Yes.
And
under the assumption that this promise would have been
She'd
kept.
work on her conditions.
Yeah.
Right,
We were
right.
married for 5 years, together for a year and a half or 2 years prior to that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So going on 7 years almost. Don't shortchange this tragedy.
So here, whoa. I have so many questions, and I feel like they're stirring around in my head now.
Go ahead.
So, did you ever consummate the marriage?
No.
What? Okay. Question number 2. Do you think she ever really worked on it?
No, I don't. Like there
Do you
was.
think she just hated? I have so many more questions. Do you think she just didn't want to?
I think it was mostly fear that drove her away from it, and she's very insecure. She had a lot of troubles. She was not well.
Mm-hmm.
To the best of my knowledge, she still isn't terribly well. And
Maybe she's a lesbian.
I thought,
I'm serious.
I know what you're saying. We every once in a while, like after I first asked for a divorce and got divorced and moved out and moved on, like there was like a lot of text messages and a lot of harassment and other.
From her?
Yeah.
Or from you, God?
No, I did
I
not.
can't say I haven't sent a harassing text message in my life. I'll
I
be
have not
honest.
yet smited her.
Was it Margaret?
Yeah. Shoot, where was I going with this? Oh yeah, and I ignored him. I ignored him. That's like my therapist was like, you don't need to get into it. And after a certain point, like she was coming down on the person that I'm with now, and that got to be like the whole thing. And long story short, I lost my temper and started firing back. And she made some mention about how I kind of, and this probably wasn't the fairest thing to say, and definitely not my proudest moment, but she was kind of questioning who I was now in a relationship with, and saying that, she didn't think that, she was talking trash about the woman that I was with.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm
as people do.
Yeah,
to be honest.
Tends to happen, sure.
You don't need to censor yourself this much.
okay.
Just go. Yeah.
No, she was mean a bitch. And I'd had enough because nobody talks to my baby that way. And so I was like, yeah, this, you can cast stones about who I have sex with, but, being the person that can't even have sex, it's pretty,
Can I tell this
pretty
part?
glass house.
Can I tell this part?
Do you know this part, Linda?
If you know.
Her response to it was, I went to a therapist. I fixed my problem. I had sex with one person. It is your ex-roommate and friend.
Stop it.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. And I'm like,
Oh, she's just
completely
whatever.
unaffected. Yeah.
Right.
Okay, but I really want to. Did you talk to your ex-roommate and friend and ask how it went?
Well, was that even
No.
truthful?
I guess I have no way
Right.
of knowing for sure if it was
Right.
the truth or not. I don't care if it was.
Right.
In a way, I think that I almost wonder if she wasn't able to like actually feel the intimacy, like the closeness that you can have when you're having sex with someone, that maybe it'll encourage her to just overall make better choices. I'd like to think that maybe that's the case with her, but who knows? But the story that I was telling was that after I, came down to her, I'm like, hey, you can talk your shit, but you're not even able to do this. She's like, oh, I'd love to tell you all about my sex life. And it was just like a weird implication, like, I don't know, maybe she's with women now or whatever.
Huh.
Wow.
There's been some questions from the audience passed forward.
Okay, 1 second.
Carry on.
Look at how their faces. They're just like, come on. I want to know.
Riveted. They're riveted. God.
They are. They're literally at the edge of their seats right now.
Good. I'm good. I'm happy to oblige. A question that people listening to this might have is how someone ends up with this condition. I guess there's traditionally two ways, and the first would be to be brought up in an uber conservative Christian household where like sex is naughty and evil.
Okay, so that's not physical though. That's psychological.
Right, and so is this condition.
Oh.
But it manifests. Yeah, a lot of psychological things manifest into physical.
Okay, so there's actually nothing physically wrong. It's more.
No, absolutely not.
It's psychosomatic.
It is.
Right.
It is. And the other is abuse, but her situation was the former.
Was very religious.
Yeah, her mom was mostly. I think that's how she ended with this. But like
Guilt and shame.
Terrible.
Yeah,
Right?
And, but thousands of women have this, and a 99.9% cure rate. That coupled with the promise, like, and I'm, and
Okay,
I remember,
a 99.9. Okay, I'm gonna sound really crass here, but a 99.9% cure rate tells me that person just needs a good fucking. Like, turns out mom is wrong, and whatever she says is bullshit, because that felt amazing.
Yeah.
let's do butt stuff.
But I understand. I completely understand when he says that. I'm like, I know so many people. Yes, I get it.
Yeah.
I really hope the mic is picking up our studio because that was good. But okay.
Yeah. I'm happy to field any questions.
Well, there was one question that was brought forward while you were talking. The studio audience would like to know what your ex, I suppose, does for a living.
Funny you should ask.
Oh, there's more studio audience now. Okay.
I realize it's probably hard to believe that she doesn't have a terribly impressive career. She, yeah.
No.
No, she did have a pretty decent job, like when we were first together, and then she developed some back problems and like up and quit. Like there was no discussion between. We were living together at the time, married, and there was like no discussion whatsoever.
Mm-hmm.
And she just like quit.
Okay.
And then she had a front desk job for quite some time, but then as a product of, or as a result of her harassment and poor attitude and poor attendance and poor work ethic, she got fired. She did get quit.
She down got quit.
Yeah.
God quitter.
Wow.
Was it a medically diagnosed back problem or sort of like an artificial one?
That was a question from the audience.
It's unclear. She.
God, you would know. I mean, come on, you're God.
I know all
Omniscient
this.
God, tell us.
This
Just
seems
bring it to
puzzling.
us.
I know. She went to the doctors. Pain is weird like that. Like there's no like sometimes there's no physical evidence of it, and that was the case with her. But I don't know. As soon as she quit and decided to do shit with her life, back pain went away. But the last I heard, she was working in a warehouse.
There's more questions.
There are a shit ton of questions.
Oh,
There's
go.
so many more questions.
Go.
I also don't know whether you're deep throat or God, but we're going to go with both, just so everyone's clear.
Well, I just think it'd
I
be
don't know.
intimidating to have sex with God.
Well, I don't know why we can't be both.
That's
But
true.
deep throat would be amazing.
Yeah. Come here a minute.
I totally forgot my question.
Come back with your question. No, there's a new question.
Okay, I'd love to hear
Forgot my
it.
question. He talked about deep throat, and I was like, wait, what? Hold on, let me think.
She's thinking. All right, we're trying to recall her question because we gave her a lot of $2 chuck. So
Oh, it's good
He
shit.
was talking about deep throating.
A little bit of the sacrament, huh?
No, I'm talking about.
this is the blood. This is
Can I get a straw
really. This is the
and cocaine?
I totally
No, I'm a little nervous, and when I go to drink, I start to shake.
this is the blood of Christ.
So cute.
I wanted to ask about
That's my son.
your past girlfriends before her, or so.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Before her, you just had girlfriends, or were you married before?
I was married before her as well.
And in all of the past relationships,
God's been married a lot.
Oh yeah,
God loves getting married.
God's been
sex
around.
lives.
I understand. Thank you, Lord. For I too have sinned.
You love getting married too.
But
do I sound different to you?
what I'm asking is like, do you feel like with this relationship, were you personally, did you feel different, or you acted different than in your other relationships?
That's a great question. I want to know this.
So,
Linda also wants to know.
okay, so maybe it's maybe I was attracting this type of person. I mean, it was different. All relationships, I change. And the only thing that I think might fit what you're asking is how like we had this really great beginning to the relationship, and I was chasing that this whole time, and I'd never done that before.
Yeah.
It's always either gotten better or it got bad and I was done, or we were both done, or whatever the case may be. But I've never really chased after it before like that. So that was certainly something that was unique to this.
And it was exciting, right?
Well, it was at first.
Yeah.
But then again, like as soon as it became evident that I might not, get back to that point with her.
Do you feel like you were love bombed?
Is that a thing?
Yes.
Oh,
This is our podcast.
Wait, yeah, I have.
So at the beginning of the relationship,
He
do you think
was.
she turned it on like hardcore just to,
Yeah, yeah.
lure you into her web?
Yes. And
That is love bombing.
hear this. I was love bombed, as it turned out. A ways into our relationship, she announced that she definitely like knows exactly what to say to men to attract them, and like exactly like what they want to hear, what they want to, what they want to do.
It's not
Really?
rocket science.
Yeah, I'm sure that she.
Well, it usually involves sex, Linda, and
Yeah,
it didn't
usually
in this case.
it's let's have sex, but she didn't
Yeah.
follow through on that
You're not wrong
for
about that.
6 years.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Good God.
Yeah.
Or you.
Good.
Good you.
Yeah. Good on you too, man.
One thing I do know about you, too, is you went through a stage with your friends and in this particular relationship where you, as God, liked to try to save people.
As God is known to do.
Yeah, I've heard of
But
that.
you really
Sure.
did.
Shingles.
You
I got it.
you were always the one that people went to with their problems, that you would listen, you would give advice. It was amazing. And you always liked those underdogs. Like you really took that in, I feel like, as a project. Like you wanted to help people.
I feel like we can really identify with you right now.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Like
Yeah.
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 I think your
I-
ex was the
that's-
biggest example of that.
Yeah, it's certainly not it's not uncommon for me to behave that way. Sure,
And okay,
I like doing things that I feel. And
I feel a
this
little
may-
weird doing this because you're God and a dude. But I'm gonna
He's
say
also
this:
deep throat.
do you and
So
deep throat?
Use deep throat. Maybe that'll make you feel better.
If you're more comfortable with deep throat, please.
Kind of like God. It's like a religious experience for me now. So, do you
Where are we
think
at on that strong cocaine? Guys in the booth, I know that guy in the booth has cocaine.
definitely does not? Have you met that guy in the booth?
God needs some cocaine.
So do you think if you had just been, I mean, while you were in it, right? So while you were in the relationship, where you're like, if I was just better, if I loved her more, or I was more understanding about her and her condition, this would get better. Did you blame yourself?
I don't. No, I did not blame myself.
God damn it! Every guy says they never do that, and every woman
And we
does.
always blame ourselves.
I-
Yes.
I'm certainly not trying to imply that I was without fault. I definitely
No.
keep up on that
It's
Right.
about whether you blame yourself for things that you are actually not controlling.
I've certainly done that. I don't believe I did it in this case.
Okay.
But it certainly.
Did you want to try to?
done
Did
that.
you try to want to try to fix her? Did you kind of see her as
I
like
wanted to fuck her.
We all know that didn't happen.
Is that too crass for this podcast? I
No,
don't know.
it's definitely not. We
Okay.
we always check the box for adult content, so it's
Okay,
okay.
that was mostly for humor, of course. I don't feel like I wanted to fix her so much as I wanted to see her be fixed.
Okay.
I didn't really care where it came from. I suppose it just it was exhausting, and it just would have been better for everyone if it had
Right.
been fixed.
Okay, we've had another question from the audience.
Oh, I'd love to hear it.
This is not my question. This is a question from the audience, and I thought you had answered it, but I think it was Linda who actually answered this question for her own experience. So, did you get blowjobs?
Good question.
I know.
Yeah.
I didn't
That
even
was
think
him.
about that.
Are you mouthing anal to me right now? Is that what you're asking?
Okay, this audience member is fired.
Well, I can answer both your questions. 2 hands up for anal, is that right? Is that what I'm saying? There's a guy raising both
That
hands.
guy is like on a roller coaster.
Oh. Okay, I see.
Guys in the audience.
The answer is there was no anal. You can put your hands down.
That guy's got like a half a arm up right now.
He's just staying with me. I
He's
appreciate it.
holding out for the blowjob.
He's holding out for me, I think, and I appreciate that. But there were some blowjobs. Yeah, should we high five? I feel like we could. I don't want to say there was an abundance of them. Can you top me off too? Anything red?
Anything red for God. God likes red.
Check with the guy in the booth about the cocaine.
You know, if you call your son, he
Stop.
would make that for you. But
I'm joking about the cocaine.
God
That's
would
good
take
because
care
you're
of the
not
wine.
getting any here.
Jesus would take care of the wine, but apparently
Yeah.
he's not here.
The to answer the question more about the blowjobs. A lot of blowjob questions sometimes, I guess. Anytime I tell this story, people ask that. There was some, and the frequency was pretty similar to what I've seen with relationships when it's new and fun and cool. It's more frequent, and as time goes on, it drops off a little bit, which is understanding. And in my opinion, that can drop off. It's expected to drop off to a certain point, and that's fine. But then, as things got worse and worse and worse, then that dropped off quite dramatically too.
Were they reciprocal?
Wow.
Oh yeah.
Okay, well that's nice. Good
Yes.
job, God.
Hey, thanks.
God goes down.
You know he does. And
No,
well,
that's a good thing. So it didn't bother her to receive oral, but penetration was the main.
indeed, yeah.
It
So there was
strictly penetration.
What about like
Yeah.
putting a tampon in?
tampons were okay. Tampons
Interesting.
got
This is
used.
so psychological.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
wait,
totally.
wait a minute.
psychological.
I want to back this
all
train way
Yeah.
up, though. That you said like it's 99.9% curable, and I think
Which,
you
by the way,
mentioned
that's a fake statistic.
physical therapy.
It's
I
not
know.
real.
Except somebody just doesn't.
Everybody but you is what that says. That stat says everyone but you is better. You suck. But you said there's physical therapy.
Yeah.
What does that entail?
well-
Because can I sign up? I want that kind of physical therapy.
There is.
My physical
You
therapy-
struggle from this?
No, but I could pretend to.
There's. Thank you so much. This isn't cocaine. You're asking about the physical therapy portion. There is.
Yeah.
We did go see doctors. And they prescribed. There's like a series of effectively dilators.
What?
Like rings?
No, the other part of that.
What?
The girl is the ring, and then the dilator goes in.
Oh, dildos.
Not as fun. But yeah, very similar to that.
It's a
and they were
wait.
graduated. Like, the first one was very small, and then the idea was to get used to that, and then move up, and then eventually.
Was that ever employed?
I could count the number of times on one hand.
Okay, this is a
Wow.
case of someone not really trying. I feel like
Yeah.
there was something else happening, right? So this is, I know we get into the weeds because this is a super fascinating topic, but this is someone who doesn't really, I'm sorry, God, don't smite me, doesn't want to have sex with you. Like,
Yeah,
does
that was
not want
evident.
to.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, I know you're God and all, but that's insane.
I think it's deeper than that. I think it's way deeper
You
than
think
that.
what? You think not doesn't?
It's
Oh,
not
you're so
just
far away
it's
from me
not
right
just
now.
like, I
Em.
know, it's so weird. We're never like right by
We're
each
usually,
other.
we're usually so intimate.
I know.
But, okay, so you think one doesn't want to have sex with anybody at all who's male?
I think that it could be a little bit about power and control that she had over you. It could be a little bit about
If you- 'cause you wanted
hating
it.
men too.
'Cause you wanted it so bad, she's not
but
gonna
she's
give it
not
to
gonna
you.
give it to you, and she's got to. I think it's a lot deeper than I don't want to have sex.
Does she masturbate?
Yeah.
What?
Huh.
Wait, she masturbates?
Uh-huh.
Oh, see, now
at
it's
your
even
face.
more fucked up.
Outside stimulation versus using
Uh-huh.
the graduated, what do you call them?
Dilators.
Right on.
Wait, so did she
They dilate
use?
is
But
what they
did
do.
she use a vibrator, or was like her? How did she? What did she use to masturbate?
She just used a vibrator on the outside. I suppose clitorally
okay.
would be the.
She's just fucking with you, dude.
Yeah.
I feel like this is
No.
all
She
psychological.
trolling me?
Yeah.
From what I understand,
It's not you. It's not you.
No, it's just that's
just-
her.
yeah.
It's her.
Yeah, you're just
There were many toxic levels to this relationship, from what I understand, from what what we have talked about.
I filled Linda in on a lot of this in the green room. So she,
so she's well informed.
yeah, she knows a lot. about
Okay.
this.
Turns out that after our toxic relationships, we decided to be together.
I'm
not afraid to take my shirt off anymore.
No way.
Oh, you guys are awesome too.
I know.
You're so great.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
You're not.
Very
Yeah.
comfortable.
Yeah. Thank
So
me
here
for
we should
that.
just all
Okay.
take our shirts off.
Wait a minute.
Oh, why do we even have these on?
Wait a minute. So now that God and Linda are together, in like the archangel,
biblical sense.
the archangel sings. So how is it? So is it just like crazy, vastly different? And you look back at both of you and say that is so crazy. I don't even know why I went through that. Like
Yeah, it's astonishing.
Yeah, there's a lot of
that
that.
is such a good word.
However, I feel like I needed to go through at least a lot of what I did.
I did not. Nobody
Fair
needs
enough.
that shit.
Fair enough.
No, I know exactly what you mean. I came out the other side a better person for sure. Clearly landed on my feet. So I guess I have to be thankful that it happened.
But 6 years without sex is, let's say,
Oh
still
my
6
God,
years
it
without
sucked.
sex.
Do you know how hard it was for me to walk for 6 months?
Oh, dude. This girl can take a punch. Just put it that way.
Oh my God.
Is that
Durable.
Good job, Linda.
Wow.
But no, seriously, when you put that all behind you and you look back and say, wow, why did I ever go through that? But
isn't that though?
Yeah.
Isn't that though what most of what your podcast is that it's reflection and seeing how much better off you are now versus what you were previously and what you dealt with previously.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, how could Deep Throat and Linda not look back and just be like, holy shit, that was absolutely messed up when you see what is
Well,
available
the contrast
now.
is so
Yes, the contrast.
Yeah. So
significant.
do you have like a new appreciation? Yeah, I guess a new appreciation for each other because of the relationship you were in. Like,
Absolutely.
do you just like
I do.
protect and love this relationship so much
Yeah.
more than maybe you would have because you know shit
Yeah.
and you just like totally appreciate each other?
Yeah, there's a lot of new levels that I didn't think were really available, I suppose.
It took me a while. I have to be honest. Like we're talking, we're conversing. I was so not used to it. I wasn't used to the emotional availability, the intelligent answers that would come out of your mouth when I had a question or a problem. It was a bit shocking. Yeah, it scared me at first.
Yeah.
To be
It's
honest.
an acclimation
Yeah.
period for
Yeah.
sure.
Right.
Well, and you're just happy to have sex after.
Oh my
6
God,
years.
so good.
You get a low bar, Linda.
Turns out sex is really great.
Turns out you like it.
Yeah, it's very popular.
All the kids are doing it.
All the kids.
All right. Well, I really appreciate that you came out. Oh, wait. And have you broken out a towel since, Linda? No sex on towels?
I don't think so. Just for cleanup, just
Yeah.
after the fact.
That's totally different.
8 times
yeah,
out of
it's
10, it's a
totally
work
different.
shirt. I'm not exactly sure why, but
A work shirt?
That's a different story. It's a different podcast.
Do you wear it to work then at that point? I'm just saying, do you?
Oh,
That would be super sexy.
That would be fucking
I would
hot.
love it.
are you saying you want one of my work shirts?
Does God have work shirts? And if they do you have a name tag that says God
Oh my god.
with a capital G?
No, they went with Deep Throat on that one.
Oh,
Yeah, I'm
Deep
deep throat work. It's more commanding.
If you can find a work shirt that says Deep Throat, I want to wear it.
Yeah, me too. I'll wear that shit out.
Well,
You may have heard of me. Deep Throat.
I'm not so anonymous anymore.
Pretty big on the podcast circuit.
That's right. All right. Well, I mean, I think those are very compelling stories of all these toxic relationships that we've had and gone through, and they're all very different. Very different. Wow. This is a whole new sort of aspect of a toxic relationship with a female person that Em and I have not had, where they basically withhold sex, because that's crazy and different and new to me, at least.
Yeah, it was new to me too.
And now old, thank God.
Yeah, it's more importantly behind me.
It's all well behind you. But yeah, no, so thanks for coming on and sharing your versions of.
It was a lot of fun. Thank you.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thanks.